The Galactic Council had always considered humans to be amusing curiosities. Violent, yes. Unpredictable, certainly. But manageable. They had emerged from Earth, a Class 12 Deathworld that should never have produced sentient life, with their primitive fusion drives and their bizarre tendency to pack bond with anything that moved. The Council had welcomed them with the patronizing warmth reserved for children playing at civilization. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood before the assembled delegates, his jaw clenched so tightly that the KR-Tesh representative could hear his teeth grinding from across the chamber. 3 months. It had been 3 months since the colony ships had gone silent. The answer is still no, Ambassador, High Counselor Vexthar announced, his translation implant rendering his clicks and whistles into cold, dismissive common. The disputed territories are outside Council jurisdiction. What happens there is, unfortunate, but not our concern. 70,000 humans. Men, women, children. The agricultural colony on New Bremen had been a beacon of hope, a testament to humanity's determination to find peace among the stars. Now it was a graveyard, and the pirates who had destroyed it were hiding behind bureaucratic red tape and carefully worded treaties. Marcus had played the game. He had filed the proper forms, attended the endless committee meetings, smiled at the delegates who looked at him like a domesticated predator that had learned to wear clothes. He had been patient because that's what Earth had asked of him. Be diplomatic. Prove we're civilized. Show them we're not the monsters they fear. But there was something the Council had never quite understood about humans. Something they had mistaken for weakness during those early, careful years of first contact. Patience, in a human, was not the same as passivity. Restraint was not the same as inability. I see, Marcus said quietly. He gathered his data pads with deliberate care. Thank you for your time, High Counselor. The delegates returned to their discussions, already forgetting the human and his tiresome petition. They didn't notice the slight smile on Marcus's face as he left. They didn't understand what it meant when a human stopped asking for permission. The KR-Tesh pirate lord called himself Zaxtar the Undying, which was a level of hubris that would have been funny if he hadn't been responsible for so much death. His fleet controlled 3 systems in the disputed territories, preying on undefended colonies and trade ships. The Council knew about him. Everyone knew about him. But the disputed territories were outside Council jurisdiction, and the major species had tacitly agreed that some places were useful to have beyond the reach of law. Zaxtar had just finished reviewing the quarterly profits when his censors officer began making a distressed chittering sound. What is it? He demanded. Ships, my lord. Dozens of them. Transponders identify them as human. Humans. Zaxtar's mandibles clicked in amusement. Those soft diplomats. Probably lost. Hail the man. My lord, they're not responding to hails. They're deploying weapons. I count 47 ships. Military configuration. They're targeting our installations. The amusement died. What? That's impossible. Humans don't have a military fleet. The Council restricts. These aren't Council-registered ships, my lord. Zaxtar pulled up the tactical display and felt something he hadn't experienced in decades, fear. The human ships were nothing like the sleek, elegant vessels favored by Council species. They were brutal, angular things, covered in armor plating and bristling with weapons that looked like they'd been designed by someone who understood that space combat was about surviving long enough to make the other bastard die first. The lead ship broadcasted on all frequencies. The voice was calm, almost cheerful. Attention Zaxtar the Undying and associated personnel. This is Captain Rodriguez of the Independent Vessel Reckoning. We're here about New Bremen. We'd appreciate it if you'd surrender peacefully, but honestly, we're not expecting you to be that smart. Zaxtar rallied his forces. He had numbers. He had experience. These were just humans, barely 2 generations in space. His fleet had been raiding for centuries. The battle lasted 14 minutes. Human ships didn't dodge elegantly. They didn't rely on shields and fancy energy weapons. They tanked damage that should have crippled them and kept coming. Their kinetic weapons, primitive railguns and missile systems, punched through shields like they weren't even there. And when the pirates tried to flee, they found that human point defense systems were disturbingly accurate, the result of evolving on a world where if you couldn't track and hit a small, fast-moving target, you didn't eat. When it was over, Zackstar's fleet was debris, and the human ships were broadcasting coordinates to every news service in the sector. The Galactic Council convened in emergency session. High Counselor Vextar was visibly agitated, his scales flushing colors that indicated severe distress. This is an outrage. Humans have deployed military vessels without Council approval. They've violated a dozen treaties. They've done what we refuse to do, Ambassador Marcus Webb interrupted, his voice echoing through the chamber. They've eliminated a threat to peaceful spacefaring peoples. I thought that would be appreciated. You had no authorization. We didn't ask for authorization. You made it clear that the disputed territories were outside Council jurisdiction. So we handled it ourselves. Those ships, where did they come from? Our inspectors certified that Earth had no military fleet. Marcus smiled, and there was something in that expression that made several delegates unconsciously lean back in their seats. You certified that Earth government had no military fleet. And we don't. Those are private vessels. Independent contractors. Concerned citizens. You'd be amazed what humans can build when they're motivated. This is unacceptable. We demand. No. The word cut through the chamber like a blade. You don't get to demand anything anymore. You had your chance to handle this through proper channels. You chose not to. So we handled it our way. And here's the thing you need to understand about humans, High Counselor. We're really, really good at violence. We spent 10,000 years perfecting it on each other before we ever left our planet. We've been playing nice because we thought that's what civilization meant. But New Bremen taught us something important. Marcus looked around the chamber, making eye contact with delegates from 100 species. Civilization doesn't mean being weak. It doesn't mean letting bullies run free because you're too comfortable to stop them. We're not asking for your approval anymore. We're informing you. The next time peaceful people are threatened and the Council does nothing, humans will handle it. And we won't be gentle about it. The chamber erupted in protests, demands, threats of sanctions. Marcus walked out. 3 days later, the Council formally recognized human enforcement actions in previously disputed territories. They called it a diplomatic compromise. Everyone else called it what it was, the day the Galactic Council learned that you don't want to teach Deathworlders that polite requests don't work. 70,000 dead had taught humanity a lesson. Humanity had made sure the galaxy learned it too. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.